with us today, regardless of whether it's morning, noon, or night, and for our attendee list, that's very true today. We have a global attendee base. My name is Todd Cummings, and I'm Vice President of Research and Development at Synergist Software. I consider myself an avid fan, student, and evangelist of data management solutions. I've had the great good fortune of being with Synergist Software for more than 20 years. And I've also had the good fortune of being involved in just about every aspect of what we do: product design, development, production, marketing, implementation, training, support, business development, partner technologies, and so on. So it's our hope, it's my hope today to share with you some insights about how to make your implementation really successful. We've been developing, implementing, and supporting engineering data management solutions for the past 2 decades. So we have a lot of experience in working with folks just like you in many, many different types of backgrounds and across many different industries. And remarkably, we have more than 40,000 users who rely on our solution every single day to get their mission-critical work done. I should mention, and I neglected to do so in my introduction, that I'm going to continue through the presentation, and we'll be taking your questions at the end. And if you have a question, I'd like to invite you to enter the question in the questions panel at the right of your screen. And my colleague Martha Lubel will read them aloud at the end of our time today when I complete the presentation. So as we go along, please do enter your question. That'll help make this really informative and dynamic for all of us. In addition to developing our own solution, which we have made available to hundreds of customers worldwide, we have a lot of depth in implementation services, which we've also been doing for 20 years. Part of what we do when we implement is help our customers attach and connect our solution to other business solutions such as ERP or work order management, in addition to CAD integrations and all those types of things. Sometimes we're called upon to automate aspects of our solution with other solutions. So we have in addition to our platform development team, we have a custom development team as well. And we really are, not only are we manufacturer direct, we take responsibility for your success. That's really what makes us tick as an organization. Some of the world's most recognizable brands rely on Adept every day. And what I find particularly interesting about some of these companies is that the size, although the companies may seem large, and they certainly are, the size and scope of the implementation varies from, I would say, small to medium to very large. And our customers are across a wide array of industries. So we really have a tremendous amount of horizontal experience that we can bring to bear in helping your implementation be successful. And I want to impart some of that for you today. So let's just review expectations. Let's make sure we're all in the right place today. We're going to talk about what I consider to be the 6 critical steps to your successful data management implementation. I'm going to share with you why creating internal alignment and generating positive energy around the effort is so critical. I'm going to touch on best practices based on our years and years of experience. And I'm going to encourage you and tell you a little bit about how to identify and enlist the heroes who are going to help your implementation be successful. And I'll also point out from time to time common pitfalls that if you don't pay attention to them, they'll impact your ROI and ultimately the success of your implementation. So I really want to provide some value for you in being aware of those. Let me be really straight up about what we're not going to cover today. This isn't a how-to on technical aspects of how to implement data management. We have other webcasts available that can cover that in some detail. I'm not going to be demonstrating software today. some folks in our organization are very talented, do a much better job of that. I'm really focused on how to make this successful, this project, for you and your organization. I'm going to be speaking in terms that we use internally, and certainly I'm conducting this webcast on behalf of our company, Synergist Software. But what I want you to know and understand that the things that we talk about today and the information that I share with you is durable. It's going to be true for any solution that's chosen. So I'd like to encourage you to think of it as that. It's hopefully some points that you will remember regardless of whether it's adept you implement or not. So without any further ado, let's introduce ourselves to the 6 critical steps. The first one is to engage a great team. That's just absolutely crucial, pulling a great team together. And we're going to talk about what the attributes of a great team are. The second critical step is the fact that planning is not optional. You got to have a plan. Call it a GPS, call it a roadmap. It's got to happen, and there are some specific key points to a successful implementation plan. Number 3, you need to know your data, and I'm gonna suggest that in many situations you probably don't know your data, and even though that's a critical step, it's really okay that you don't know your data now, because this will be a critical part of the implementation process. And we'll talk about how data is so very interesting in your organization as we continue through our presentation today. The 4th critical step is breaking down barriers to change. I'll submit to you that the complexity involved in implementing a data management solution really isn't about the technology. It's really more about the human aspect and the process aspect. So that's why it's lowering the threshold for people to accept, embrace, and move forward with change is so critical to your overall success. I'm going to encourage you to extend outside the box. Whether you actually do or not, I'm going to at least ask you to think outside the box that you're used to thinking within. And we'll talk more about that, of course. I'm going to strongly encourage that you train effectively. Having a solid foundation, a solid platform from which users can be confident day one in using their new solution is so important. And I would feel like I was cheating you if I didn't also include a 7th bonus step, which I think is not optional, and I'm gonna really encourage you to make part of your critical steps. So let's talk about the first critical step, what I call engaging a great team. So your ideal project team is going to be able to provide you with a 360-degree worldview, and it's going to introduce diversity by way of its representation. So your project may be small or large. The concept is scalable, whether your project is small, 10, 15 users, 5, 10 users, whether it's 100, 200, 500 users. You're going to want diverse representatives from those departments who are going to be affected, and certainly from the user community, right? IT, of course, will be involved. You're going to stand this solution up on the corporate network or as part of the corporate IT solution, so that it's a must. It's a must that they're involved, and that's most common these days. It used to be early on in our evolution. IT was actually rarely involved, if you can imagine. Today, that's not so much the case, but it bears mentioning. IT really has to be involved. I think some of the most successful projects we've seen leverage executive sponsorship. So it's likely that the overall investment has been approved by a sponsor in the organization, an executive sponsor. And although they may not be part of the project team, they can really help set the tone, the expectation, and a sense of direction and vision around your project. And here's a good example. I think this can really help the success of the project and help get everybody pointing in the right direction. A great example of a company that we worked with actually recorded the divisional vice president making a presentation on the project and why he was supporting it and believed it was so important. And he actually asked people to join him and get on board in supporting the project. That was tremendously effective and meaningful to users. So if that idea helps, by all means, please incorporate it into your project plan. Your internal project lead, this is obvious. You need an internal quarterback, that sponsor, and process monitor to help make sure things are going smoothly. Critically, your project team must include a solutions partner project manager, somebody who is the liaison with your internal project lead and who is responsible and accountable for ensuring that the solution side, the partner side, is taken care of. I want to share with you some critical project team activities. And folks, what I'm sharing today is really common sense, and I'll make no bones about that. And the reason I'm sharing it with you and taking this opportunity is because it's really important. The first one is keep your eyes and ears open. You will get feedback, fears, concerns, hopes, desires for the results of your implementation. Be really conscious and aware of that information. You're going to get valuable information as you go through the planning phase and as you come close to actual implementation. So keep your eyes and ears open and have a method for responding to questions and concerns and those hopes and fears. A lot of these you'll find that a lot of this will relate directly to other critical steps, and it will certainly relate to scope, as we'll talk about in a moment. Leverage team member strengths. Seems really self-evident, right? It's hugely important. Some folks have just an amazing process way of thinking about the world. Others have a very conceptual way of thinking about the world. You'll have team members who are intimately familiar with your company's data, and you'll have team members who aren't. That's okay. It's part of the diversity. You don't want to sacrifice. You don't want contentious diversity. You want constructive, forward-moving diversity to help ensure that you're covering the bases, the critical bases that are part of the scope. It's really critical that you complete your homework. And what I mean by that is part of the project will be, you'll certainly work on a project plan, and there'll be deliverables. Your partner will have deliverables, and you'll have deliverables. The types of deliverables that you would need to make available to your partner are data surveys. What are the files and what folders are they in on your network? Who are the users? Who are the administrators? Those types of things. When the project is underway, those become time-bound, right? It's really important. And I can tell you from our years of experience, projects tend to go over time when homework isn't done. So I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it to your attention. Please complete those steps. They're really critical, and they'll help make keep your project on task and on target. And communicate, obviously. Your critical project team activity is communicate. In fact, I advocate that you over-communicate, and if there's something that most commonly what we see in the field is probably slightly less than ample communication. So I'm going to encourage you to, even if you think it's one communication email or one lunch and learn too many, err on the side of over-communication so people really understand and have an opportunity to get involved. Second critical step, break down barriers to change. I think you probably all have an idea for how critical this is, and I'll repeat myself. What I said before was that the hard part of a data management implementation are really going to be the It's not the technology. We've been working on the technology for 20 years. We'll work famously with your IT department in your organization. It's really going to be the data and the people, the processes. So let's treat that with awareness going in. Invite people to participate and provide education. Involve the people who will be affected throughout the process, early and often, we like to say. It provides people a real opportunity to become, not just to feel like they're a part of it, but to actually become a part of it because you've involved them. It's so important, and there's a difference. It's not only do you want people, obviously you want people to feel involved because they're going to be affected. When this solution goes live, the way they work is completely changed. And it's not just a feeling, you want them involved. And because you're keeping your eyes and ears open, you're going to learn things from them. And you're going to consider things from them that are really important. When you've asked them for their participation and you've educated them and you've really listened and taken the feedback into account, it's our belief, it's my belief, you have the right to ask them for their commitment to your project's success. It's such a simple concept, and yet it's something that I really believe can be done more. Ask the direct question for your users to commit to the success of the project. Some people will be happy to do it. Others will need a little bit more coaxing, and we have a strategy, a tactic for that. Getting commitment will increase your time to value. It absolutely, positively affects your ROI in a positive way. Another piece that's interesting and something that I advocate, ask your users to take ownership. The reality is when the solution goes live, they're going to be using a system that's new to them, although they will have been adequately trained, as we'll discuss. They're going to be using a system that's new to them, and they're, in effect, going to own it, whether they realize that in advance or not. And it's my belief that asking them to own it in advance is really super helpful. So again, friends, this is not rocket science, but ask the questions and involve people. It will help, I promise you. So how about the folks who aren't convinced? You've given them the opportunity to be a part of things, and you've enlisted their feedback, and they're not sure. They know their world's going to change, but they don't quite buy it yet. They don't understand it. Well, that's when you get the heroes involved. And there's a popular song right now. It's kind of a clever lyric that I like. It says, "Heroes don't look like they used to. They look like you do." And the point I want to make here is that champions come in many forms with many different titles. Some of the most avid champions are folks who don't have titles, but they're respected usually, and they're passionate. They're passionate about what they do. They're passionate about what your company does, and they're passionate about a great result for your end clients. So you need to take the process of enlisting your heroes, champions, seriously, in my view. These people are functional leaders, people that others in the community, others in the user group or the department look up to. That person or those people support and promote the project, and they can help. They can really help remove barriers, lower the threshold to project success. It's just such an amazing experience. I'll tell you a quick story from industry. We had a customer in Pittsburgh who implemented Adept, and there was one person who, one person in particular who, just before go live, was absolutely diametrically opposed to rolling the solution out. Didn't get it, could not imagine them getting themselves on board. Had a convoluted process that they used to get their work done, but it was their process, and this person knew that process. And what I respected about this gentleman's worldview is he was straight up and honest about it. He didn't make any bones about it. He wasn't obnoxiously so. He just said, I don't get it. This is, I don't see it. Well, Fast forward a year later, I happened to be passing through Pittsburgh again, and I stopped by for a visit, and just to check in, see how things were going. This gentleman made a point to seek me out and said, I just want you to know, I remember when you were here at the beginning of the project, and I want you to know that where I am today is I have no idea how I got my job done before we implemented this solution. So it just goes to show you, I think, that enlisting people and getting people involved, I think it really helps. And champions will emerge from unlikely places. Planning is not optional. I think we all understand that. The process that we use for helping you plan for your implementation, we call that an assessment. And it's really about project scope. It's a process that helps you get very clear about what the scope is. And you may be clear now, but it's a little bit like choosing a major in college. Sometimes you can make a choice or two along the way. I know that was certainly the case for me. Scope can change, is the point. So this process helps you get very clear about what the scope. It also informs your partner about your project goals, desires, and outcomes. Although you folks are experts in your business, we're not experts in your business yet. We're experts in our solution. So we need to have a meeting of the minds, and assessment is the process to get there. This assessment will document the baseline as-is situation. It's going to capture goals, objectives, hopes, and fears, which is the to-be environment. And the result of this is a clearly written statement of work, right? So this assessment is the planning and the scope planning and the project, sort of initial project idea planning phase, and it's really critical. It'll also, of course, will capture requirements, clarify, and then document intent. So prior to the solution being implemented, it really is about intent, right? These are our goals, and this is what we want or believe to have happen. And we'll document those up front so that we can help measure the success and to ensure that we're doing exactly what you intended to do. We'll want to know ownership. What are the specific problems? What do you think the value is going to be? What are the intended benefits? Who's supporting the initiative at various levels in the organization? This is going to help you formulate your communication plan, which will be an important part of the project, obviously. But this is done early on. What data will be managed? For whom? Across which continents? These days, it's rare that our implementations are just on one continent or in one location. They span the globe. And this is important and critical information, I'm sure you'll agree. Which data and which, equally important, juicy one. And this is a tip, trick, and an ROI effector for sure. Which data and departments will not be included and why? On large projects, you may take a phased approach. You'll say we're going to address the most critical need first, and we're going to address the remainder of the data in the implementation phases. But understanding what's in and what's out and actually having an aligned answer as to why will help you communicate clearly about what the project's intent is. Obviously, you want to do a risk study. It can be as high level or as in-depth as you choose to go. But you want some idea of what the risks are that you can envision before you go in. That's an awareness-raising event. It'll also help in terms of your communication. I like to suggest that our clients communicate what the potential risks are to stakeholders, users, so that they can be aware and help ensure that the things that could happen don't happen or don't have as big an impact as they potentially could. The assessment will discuss and document what winning means. What is a successful implementation going to look like? How will we know that we've done a good job? And how are we going to measure that? What's it going to mean? Also, of course, define, set, and manage expectations. At least take a first and second pass at them. They may change a little bit if scope and intent change, but you want to have some clarity as part of this assessment process. And so you start early and you iterate as often as you need to to be clear about defining and setting the expectations. And I say, interestingly, be redundantly repetitive. It's okay to reiterate what the project expectations are. Sometimes, you know, with as much information as we all receive during the course of the day, whether it's email or the news online and texts and phone calls and this and that and the other, it helps to repeat ourselves. That's okay. That's part of a good communication plan, in my view, is repeating. Not obnoxiously so. We're not looking to spam people, obviously, but we are looking to be clear and provide opportunity for somebody to see an email that they may have missed before, or attend a lunch and learn that they may have had a schedule conflict with. After the assessment, and after you have a clear scope of work, part of the plan, and this is actually once the engagement begins, at least in our process, we call when the application engineer comes on site. You have a clear scope of work, we have an agreement on how the project's going to unfold. There's a critical piece to having a plan that I want to communicate with you. We call it the implementation plan and design. And the IPD is executed after the assessment and after you have the scope of work. It's where the actual technical solution is designed, modeled, tested, and validated in your organization. It's a semi-conceptual exercise, which may include installing the software in a test bed or creating a test environment. But it's a really important part. It's where workflows are identified. It's where document naming schemes and bill of materials approaches and transmittal mapping, and how's our transmittal form going to look like, and do we need, you know, 2 transmittal forms or 50, those types of things. For this, prior to the IPD happening, prior to our application engineer working with you, we really like to have your adept administrator and any key support personnel trained for the IPD. And what happens, what we've found, and I think this is a key trick and a key tip. Have your key people trained when you design the system so that they can apply your business to the way the solution works and vice versa. You want this solution is going to be your company's solution at the end of the implementation. And the more people understand how the software works and can apply that and communicate how the business works, you're setting yourselves up for a far better outcome. So train those people early and then plan the technical aspects. Okay. Know your data. Many of you know a lot about your data today. And I submit, and this is something we've seen time and time again, data has a remarkable way of coming out of the woodworks. And it's kind of rare, even in what I would consider small to medium implementations, that we find one person who knows everything about all the data that's used in an organization. So it's okay if you don't know your data today, because we're going to help you, and the people in your organization who are the subject matter experts and who rely on the data to get their job done are going to help you understand the data. What I mean by that is what's current, what's work in process, what's archive, how's it used, what are the processes around that, how clean is it now, and you'll get into discussions, does it need to be scrubbed and cleaned. Those data owners, again, are gonna help you answer these questions. Do revisions need to be imported? And once you go through this survey and you have an experience where somebody will say, oh my gosh, we have these 100 spreadsheets over here and they do XYZ for our company, That will happen, by the way. Data will come out of the woodworks, and you'll have some mission-critical data that you didn't realize was so important. Once you have that all ironed out, that becomes part of the scope, and you need to toe the line on which data to import. If magically you find another 250,000 documents that need to be imported by the time the application engineer arrives to implement, that's going to mess with scope, right? And that's going to push timelines out. So we want to toe the line at this point on which data to import, but it can be revisited. If it's absolutely necessary and you choose to extend that, certainly that's your prerogative, and we're glad to do it with you in partnership, obviously. You want to think about ahead of time this Me Too mitigation plan, I call it. You have devised a scope, and other people will get excited because your project, you've got such a dynamic project team, and you've planned it so well, and you've communicated and listed people and chosen project champions. People are talking about this now, and people who were unaware, people in your organization who were unaware that this project was going to happen, that you're actually getting a data management solution, are going to come to you and say, we have needed this for so long. This sounds great. Can we get access to? And the answer could be no, or it could be absolutely in phase 2, or it could be sure, let's talk about that. Whatever it is, you want to have a mitigation plan. And I'm inviting you to think about it ahead of time. I wish I had a penny or a nickel for every time this has happened. Folks will want to be involved because they'll be excited, and you've created buzz. And that is a great challenge to have, trust me. And part of knowing your data is absolutely critical. We can help you, and your partner, certainly this is something we do with our customers. We can mock up a system without actually doing a final migration. We can do a test migration of your company's data in the system, give you an opportunity to look at it. Certainly if we are programming a custom data migration for you, we're going to ask you to do a test run. We're going to ask you to take a look at it. But even if your data import is as simple as bringing documents in from the network, we can mock that up for you. It's a great way to see what your data looks like in our solution. Ideas and realizations will come from that. It's an important step. And because you can then visualize your data in different ways, you're going to know your data in ways that you didn't know before. It's really fun for us to see that happen, to see the lights go on for you. It's part of what makes this work so fun and exciting for us. Please train effectively. It's really important. As I said before, you're going to train your administrators and your support personnel, or perhaps even your champions, early, before the implementation plan and design, the technical design. These people will be trained. It will help shorten the time to value for having these people trained because they know your business, and then they will know the solution, and they can help. They will be active architects of making this implementation great for you. Users, you're asking them, remember, when the solution goes live and the switch gets flicked to on, your users are going to be working in a completely different way than they've worked before. There's going to be a little fear, uncertainty, and doubt there. That's human nature, and that's okay. They've been involved. You've enlisted them. They've given their feedback. But people want to do their jobs well, and it's a different way of working. So we need to train them effectively. A really great way to train folks, there's a couple of things about user training. We find that hands-on works better than classroom-type lecture training because people are actually doing as they're hearing. The other piece that we found to be really successful is to allow for over-the-shoulder time. And this is a it's a loosely structured ad hoc time where our application engineers the system goes live, and the application engineer is available to walk around to individual desks and answer questions. So here are the types of things that can happen. Some people aren't comfortable asking questions in front of groups. It just happens. So that one-on-one time gives them a chance to ask specific questions that they have. Invariably, we'll find that users sit down at their desk and say, oh, wow, I forgot about this thing I have to do, or this kind of thing that I do every day to help me get my work done. And that's training time that's less structured, but really super valuable, and will help your project be successful because it gives the users the confidence they need to do their job well. And it's my belief they really want that. You may need to extend outside the box. And what I mean by this is certainly it's sort of literal as well as metaphoric. Extending outside the box in a literal sense means your business may have requirements that our solution doesn't handle out of the box. And so it needs to be customized. Perhaps it's a custom integration with your ERP system, your work order management system, your business system, your contact management system. We've done so many over the years, it would be difficult to list them all. You may need to customize, you may not, but this is clearly something you're going to want to understand. So even if you choose not to customize, we're going to go through a little exercise of thinking outside the box to make sure that we are implementing and providing you a solution that meets your business needs. And also during this exercise, it doesn't take that long usually, you can identify future phases for growth, ways to add more value once the solution is implemented and up and running for a little while. This happens a lot. So if you customize, you must have a specification. This is a little bit like an assessment and an implementation planning design, but for your customization. You've got to have a spec. This is where you can see exactly what the intent is, how the program's going to function, what problems it's going to solve. It's a design and a virtual debugging process. Not virtual code debugging, obviously, because the code hasn't been written yet, but it's a process debugging session. You really have to have a specification for any customization or data migration that gets done. I'm going to encourage you to avoid unnecessary complexity. Don't make an automated piece too complex. You can always grow and evolve the solution as you need to, but making it unnecessarily complex can make it difficult on the users out of the gate. And of course, you need to understand the pros and cons of non-recurring engineering. You want to understand, obviously, what's the investment for me to customize? What happens when new versions of the solution come out? Do I have to? Does my customization have to be updated as well? So these are things you just want to go in with your eyes open if you do need customization. The final step, the final critical step for your successful implementation is to enjoy excellent support. Friends, you have a right to excellent support. And this is not just a post-implementation activity. This is throughout your entire project. Even before you've selected a solution, I submit to you that the processes that you're undergoing of demonstrations, of having technical experts talk to your IT folk, of explaining how CAD integrations work to some of your power users, this is what would typically be considered part of the sales process. It's not typically. It is part of the getting to know one another and the validation of the solution process. But you deserve excellent support. You deserve timely responses. You deserve accurate answers to your questions. When your solution partner provides that type of support to you in the early part of the campaign, it's my belief that that's providing you insight to what the support's going to be when the solution goes live. Data management crosses boundaries. Putting a solution like this in place is there's a little bit of United Nations involved here. There's design, there's engineering, there's IT, there's multiple locations around the globe. And if something happens with the system and you need help, you're going to need it when you need it. So you have a right to excellent support, and I'm encouraging you to remember that. And there'll be opportunities. You'll know if you're getting that excellent support you deserve. So today we have talked about what I believe to be the 6 critical steps that are really going to help your implementation be successful. You're going to engage a great team. You understand that planning isn't optional, and you understand some of the different aspects of planning. We talked about how to know your data, and if you don't know it today, that's okay, because you're going to get to know a lot more about your data than you ever thought possible by the end of this project. You need to break down barriers to change and do specific things that will help lower the threshold for your users to help make this project successful. It's not just the project team's job, it's everybody's job, because everybody's going to be a part of the solution, everybody who's affected, right? You're going to extend outside the box and at least think outside the box, regardless of whether you need to customize or not. You're going to commit to training effectively, because this really needs to be successful, and you want ROI to start being, you want that investment start being returned on day one. And that magical bonus step of expecting and deserving excellent support, it's really your right in our view. And at this point, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention today, and I'd like to field some questions. So Martha, if you'd join me on the line, if there were any questions along the way, I'd be happy to respond to them now.
Sure. Hi, everyone. The first question is, Todd, is there some typical time frame for implementing a data management system? I mean, what are the ranges that you've experienced?
Yeah. So it's an excellent question, and that's a function of scope. And scope will be number of users, amount of data, number of geographic location. It could also be phases. So I think in the typically when you're talking about planning, the assessment phase, when you're talking about implementation planning design and actually being on site and implementing, you're talking about 2 to 4 weeks. If you're going to pilot, sometimes a small pilot environment can be up and running in a few days or a week. It really depends on the scope, and I've seen it go from a few weeks from a few days to a few weeks, depending. With our particular solution, what you won't see is years, months or years. We measure our implementation time in days or weeks versus months and years. And we like to help you architect projects that can deliver value early on, even if they're phased. And I'm not counting a phased project as if a project has multiple phases, 1, 2, and 3, and in calendar time that happens over a year and a half. I don't think that's necessarily. I don't classify that as a year-and-a-half project. I classify, phase 1 as a 3-week project, and phase 2 as a 2-week project, and phase 3 is a 1-week project. That kind of thing. So I hope that answers your question. Certainly, if you'd like to talk more about that, contact us. We'll be glad to go into detail about your specific environment.
The next question that I have is, can Synergis take the place of a PLM software?
It's a great question. And I think the answer is, it depends on what your definition of PLM is. The answer is so it's going to be a little bit difficult to answer for you without knowing what your PLM requirements are. I can tell you with certainty that we have customers who refer to Adept as their PLM solution. We have other customers that have Adept implemented as their engineering document management solution that is integrated with their PLM solution. And it's really a matter of your requirements, I would say. So the answer is yes, but it's a conditional yes. It's very effective, and we really need to know what your specific requirements are to answer that for you.
Okay.
Were there any?
I have the next question. The next question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel are the differences or the fundamental differences between contract data or document management and engineering data or document management?
So the first part of that question, Martha, contract data or document management?
That's what...
And engineering document management, right. Excellent question. So I'm going to set up some parameters here since I'm not entirely sure what the question is. I'm going to say that by contract you mean contracts with customers or with vendors. So literally legal documents that have, that represent some form of legal and binding agreement between your company and another party or parties. And then design engineering and document management. So I think what the major difference between the two is complexity. I think that contracts are less complex than what we typically see in design and engineering document management. So in my world, which I'll warn you ahead of time is an adept, I see the world through adept-colored glasses, right? Adept can be used and is used for tracking and managing contracts. That's easier. They're usually a document, right? You'll have the contract and you may have an Appendix A or an Appendix B, but that's usually all one document. And even if it's multiple documents, you can sort of link them together in the solution. What's important about those contracts is we're keeping a revision history, keeping an audit trail of approvals, and making them available to the right people in the organization, so permissions-based access and those types of things, perhaps even transmitting them, so transmittal capability. Where the additional complexity with design and engineering documents come in is in the models or the designs themselves. They're almost always compound relationships. So if your company builds widgets and a widget is comprised of 2,500 parts, your design engineering data management solution has to know that all of those parts and assemblies are related. Additionally, it has to know that they're related at a specific version for what you delivered to the customer. So I think, again, the complexity and the interrelatedness of documents that the CAD design tools require are the major difference between design engineering document management and plain old Word or PDF or Excel document management. I hope that helps. I have a feeling that's around what your intent for the question was. And if not, shoot me an email or give us a ring and we'll be happy to talk about it.
Great. Thank you very much. There's a couple more questions if you have time to take them.
I do. Okay.
A question, it's from Max Simmons, and I apologize I didn't name the person whose question it was before this.
Okay, that's fine.
What would you say is the biggest roadblock to implementing your system?
That's a really good question. The biggest roadblock to implementing. Well, it's interesting. Let's say that, so I think there are different phases. We encounter roadblocks at different phases. So if the question was biggest roadblock to implementing, so let's assume that the decision has been made, the solution's been chosen, you have a plan, and we are actually going to implement the solution. So we're implementing, we're getting workflows built, we're getting users imported, tied to Active Directory, we're incorporating data, The biggest challenge, folks, is that homework piece that I made a point to point out earlier. The biggest impediment to a smooth rollout, a smooth implementation, is when the homework pieces, the information that the project team needs to keep the project moving forward, when those don't come in a timely way, that can result in some scrambling, either on our side or on your side. So honestly, I think, from an implementation rollout standpoint, that's the biggest impediment. I would say, another one would be an incomplete plan, but we just don't. That's not something that we see, because we help ensure that your plan is complete. Because as I have said many times, this isn't our first rodeo, so we can really help you ensure that your plan is complete. So again, do your homework. I bring that up for a reason. That's a major impediment to a smooth implementation. And the plan will be good if we're involved, but if you have another solutions provider, just make sure you have a thorough plan and that the project team all agrees that this is a go. Did you say there was one more, Martha?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
What is a typical response time when responding to emergencies, and how many people are on staff to support customers? That was from Luisa Argandana, and I guess we can answer that from our perspective.
Yeah, thank you. So read me the question one more time, Martha, if you would. Thank you, Luisa, by the way. I appreciate the question. So I want to hear exactly how she worded it.
It's Luis. I'm sorry.
Oh, Luis, I'm sorry. I heard.
Typical response time. What is the typical response times to emergencies? And how many people are on staff to support customers?
Yeah. So what is a typical response time to emergencies? That's a great question. I would say that our typical response time to emergencies is less than 10 minutes. It's probably, I apologize for not knowing exactly what the metric is. I would say it's within 5 minutes of receiving that information. Our queue is monitored obsessively. So it's, I would say, for true emergencies, from our perspective, it's in near real time. We have 6 full-time help desk folks, and in our particular organization, we don't put artificial walls between support and, let's say, our quality team if needed, or our development team when needed, or even our product management team. So depending upon how grave the emergency is and how serious it is, the number of people can scale up. I'll say, we don't like putting 10 people on a problem unless it's truly needed. We like putting the right people on a problem to resolve it quickly. And we do that. We do exactly that. So if it's an emergency and help desk can't solve it, but they know that they have access to a developer, for example, there's somebody in development. Every single day we have somebody from our platform development team who is responsible for being available to help desk as a first line of defense if it's needed. So it's not so much about how many, but do we have the right people involved, and can we get it solved for you in a timely fashion? I'm clear that we can, and I think you have that right as a customer. So I hope that was helpful.
Actually, I think this is the last one that we have time for, Todd.
Okay.
And the question is, how do I best use the information from this session to convince my management to greenlight a data management system, or an investment in a data management system?
That's a really good question, and there's no one simple answer. I think that one of the things that will help is, so my recommendation to you is you're welcome to these to the slides and the information. You're certainly welcome to this information. It's for you. You're going to want to have an idea, and you want to make a case for what the return on investment is going to be. And I think critically, you're going to want to know the problems you're trying to solve. And I didn't talk a lot today about how to uncover or how to put the problems that you're trying to solve in compelling words. This was really about, the decision's made, it's kind of been green-lighted, and what are you going to do to make sure this thing really sings as a rollout? Unexpected things are going to happen, but we want to give you as much ammunition to help make it as smooth as possible. If you're not quite at that point in the process yet, I think the most effective way that I've seen is to understand the problems you're trying to solve. If you're trying to solve problems, there are inefficiencies or pain in the process that you're experiencing today, right? You or some of your users or your department or your company. And then you want to understand how those challenges affect the organization. So you're feeling the challenge, you know it exists, it's causing you some problems. Who else? And you want to start to trace how that problem affects other people in your organization. So your challenges affect your boss, guaranteed. If you have inefficiencies or lost data, or you've got projects that are running behind, or you've made a part based on a wrong revision set of a drawing, or you can't find your contracts, that's a problem for you, it's a problem for your boss. It may even be a problem for your boss's boss. That's probably the most effective way to get a project green-lighted, is to really help, is to understand what the impact is and how it impacts not only you, but impacts folks to whom you report, and impacts ultimately the business. And that's a little bit different, I think. That process of uncovering that information is a little bit different than what we talked about today. Certainly the information that we shared today will help your management understand that you're committed to making this really successful, and you've got some insight into how to make it successful. But the process of making sure that the impact is understood in words that your boss and your boss's boss and ultimately the business can understand, that's a little bit different process, and I'm going to encourage you to get involved, to contact one of our strategic account managers. They're professionals, and that's what they do. They can help you with that, and we certainly would be happy to do that. So that, I think, with that question and 1 minute before 3, I think we'll end our time today. Again, thank you so much for your time and your investment and your attention. We sincerely appreciate it, and I hope this has been of value today. I certainly had fun, and I hope, even though we're talking about implementing design engineering data management, which isn't exactly sexy, it sure is a lot of fun, and it's especially fun when your projects go well. So that's my wish for you. I wish you the best of luck, and please, if we can help in any way, reach out. It would be our great pleasure to serve you in whatever way we can. Have a great day, and thanks for your attendance.